squat and anti-squat. This is something that's almost always misunderstood or oversimplified in any explanation I've ever seen for it. So tonight what we're going to do is complicate things to clear it up, and then we'll understand why it matters and how we can affect it. Now, the common definition of squat is the compression of the rear suspension under acceleration. But what if I told you that even a hardtail frame experiences squat and anti-squat? See, now we have a problem because that definition no longer works. So let's derive what's actually going on and come up with a more technically accurate definition. Okay, let's start with static weight distribution. Let's assume this motorcycle weighs 200 kilograms, split across the rear to the front 50-50. This would put the longitudinal position of our center of gravity right in the middle. Now let's add a 100 kilogram rider. Now, since my center of mass is in a different location, this is going to result in a change in distribution across the rear and the front. With that, the center of gravity is also going to be changed along the longitudinal axis and also along the vertical axis. This is still just static mass. So here's where Newton's first law of motion, the law of inertia, comes in. It says that an object will remain at rest or continue to move at constant velocity in a straight line unless acted on by an external net force. So what this means is that when we accelerate, the motorcycle and ourselves, we resist this movement and we see this force, or we consider this force, to act on the center of gravity. Now, this isn't a downward force or anything like that. It's a horizontal force that's acting in the opposite direction to the direction of movement. With that in mind, we'll have this inertia generating this force when we are accelerating or under braking. Under braking, we are diving into our front suspension. Under acceleration, what we're typically going to see is, what you're likely to see and understand, is the rear suspension compression as the motorcycle, the weight transfers to the rear. But since this force is actually a horizontal force on the center of gravity, this is actually acting as a moment about the rear wheel contact patch. Same as when we're braking on the front, it's acting as a moment about the front wheel, like a lever arm. So actually it's not moving the center of gravity backwards, it is pitching it about the rear wheel. So since the inertia creates a moment about the wheels, we actually get a pitching motion of the motorcycle under braking or acceleration. Focusing on acceleration, what we're going to have is a lot of the weight is going to transfer towards the rear due to the inertia, and that's going to be driving that rear wheel into the ground, which is great for traction, for acceleration. But what it's not great for is the front wheel is going to get lighter and feel floaty. You're going to have less force between the tire and the ground at the contact patch, which would create the friction, the traction at the front wheel, meaning less grip, which is critical for cornering. So this is our primary force involved in weight transfer. And as you can probably understand, this is going to happen regardless of having a suspension or not. So up to now, we've just been dealing with weight transfer due to inertia, but this is actually a different thing to squat. Regardless of the amount of squat or anti-squat you have, you're still going to have the amount of weight transfer. Squat is actually a result of the forces, the drive forces from the drivetrain, and its relationship to the center of gravity, and when you introduce a suspension system, its relationship to the swing arm pivot. We have a torque that's being output from our countershaft or front sprocket. Due to the ratios, we're going to have a lower torque at this, or a lower force occurring at this rear sprocket. And then, if you can imagine like a torque wrench with an extension bar, if you apply an amount of force at the end of this stick here, you're going to be generating a torque. Now, in order to create that same torque, now that it's more extended, you don't need to push as hard at the end. So this is just an example of how we're actually getting a reduced amount of force at the contact patch. So this is our first source of squat and anti-squat. Due to the relationship, the geometry of the swing arm in relation to where this force is occurring, we're actually pushing the rear wheel underneath the swing arm, underneath the swing arm pivot. And by doing that, we're actually trying to pitch up the suspension. And by doing so, we'll be trying to extend the shock. Now, this extension is kind of like a subtraction of force or adding additional resistance in the spring, but it's not actually increasing the stiffness. It's just creating a moment about which unloads the spring, but it doesn't unload the rear wheel. Now, usually this is as far as people typically explain about squat and anti-squat. This geometry is important depending on whether the swing arm is pitching downwards. This can also be encouraging squat. So now we're on to the second element of squat and anti-squat, which is usually missed out. And it's all going through this chain here. So we said we have a torque here, and it's reduced at this sprocket. But this force is still acting in this direction. So depending on this geometry, the relationship of this chain and the swing arm pivot, you can see how this force is actually acting to pull the wheel about the swing arm pivot. As an example, if this is imagine this spring is the chain and we're pulling above the pivot, it's lifting. If it's underneath, it's trying to extend. Compression, extension. Now remember, this force is actually higher than the force at the tire, so this is actually one of the more important factors in squat and anti-squat. Now depending on the geometry...
Okay, sorry, the noise from my mic in the scarf is just awful in this clip, so I'm going to have to try a new occupation. I'm going to try voice acting, dubbing myself. Let's go. Now depending on the geometry of our swing arm in relation to the front sprocket, we can actually generate more or less squat or anti-squat. And we can also balance this with the forces at the contact patch as well. So what can we do about this? Well, it's related to the angles of the chain and the swing arm. So there's a few things we can do to affect these angles. The first thing is going to be changing the sprockets. The thing about this is it doesn't really affect it very much, because if you go down in the rear and up in the front, we're going to be increasing the incline of the angle, but we're also going to be reducing the force in the chain. It kind of balances out. Where it does matter is when we look at the squat ratio. This is going to change the position of our reference point, which we'll come to in a moment. The most effective change for squat and anti-squat would be to change the swing arm pivot position, which is available on some motorcycles. Now for most, the actual most effective change is going to be to the ride height, which is going to be done through suspension linkages. This is also going to knock on to the center of gravity position, which is going to affect a whole slew of things.
So it can be a little bit difficult to understand the relationship between weight transfer, squat and anti-squat. But one thing we can do is we consider the squat ratio, which is a ratio of squat to weight transfer. And how we do this is, first let's consider our weight transfer from inertia. So for that we take moments about the rear wheel. So our first point is here at the rear wheel. And the second point is going to be an intersection point of the vertical axis of the front wheel with the height of the center of gravity. As for the squat, what we need to do is determine a reference point first, which is going to be where our moment is acting from. We do this by first taking the top of the chain and extending a line through the motorcycle. We then take a point at the center of the rear wheel and we extend a line through the pivot point of the swing arm pivot and continue extending until that intersects with the chain line. This is going to be our reference point, which means we then take moment from the rear wheel contact patch extended through this point.
Now, I won't derive the full squat equation here because it all boils down to a ratio of 2 moments. One moment coming from the load transfer from the inertia, and the other comes from these drive forces acting through the chain line and the swing arm. The reason we draw these lines is because their relative angles tells us which moment wins. And importantly, this concept still applies even on a hardtail. The forces and moments still exist, they're just reacted directly through the chassis instead of the suspension. Now, too much of anything is never a good thing, and the same applies to squat. But small amounts can actually be beneficial. The same applies to anti-squat. Too much anti-squat can actually be problematic. Ultimately, what we're trying to achieve is control. The suspension plays a critical role in keeping the motorcycle in contact with the ground, reacting to the disturbances in the surface. Now, if the anti-squat moment is too strong, it can inhibit the suspension's ability to respond under acceleration, reducing compliance and grip. On the other hand, too little anti-squat allows the inertial weight transfer to dominate, increasing pitching, unloading the front wheel, and reduced stability. So a system designed to perfectly cancel that inertial weight transfer can result in a feeling of being less engaged and feeling less predictable, which is why we typically still have motorcycles designed with an amount of squat, rather than completely eliminating it. So I hope from this video you can understand that squat is actually a bit different to weight transfer. It's a result of the drive forces reacting through the chassis. And for a motorcycle with a suspension, we're going to see that in the suspension, whereas for a hardtail frame, it's going to be less visible, but it is still there. So how can we adjust these squat characteristics? Well, the key point is that it's all related to geometry. So if you want to adjust it most significantly, that would be in the swing arm pivot. After that, we can adjust the ride height, but that is going to knock onto some other aspects. Then there's the sprockets. So we can increase or decrease the size of the sprockets, which is going to affect the chainline angle. But in doing so, we're also going to be changing the forces that we're transmitting. So it kind of it doesn't completely cancel itself out. There are still some minor effects, but it's much less significant than changing the swing arm pivot or the ride height. And then we've got springs. Now you might see anti-squat springs advertised, but realistically they're not doing anything to increase or decrease the drive forces. Maybe they become stiffer, and in doing so they are going to be affecting every other aspect of the motorcycle suspension. So for that one I wouldn't recommend. Okay, so that's it from me for now. If you have any requests for subjects you want me to tackle and go through, then please feel free to leave a comment in the section down below, and I'll see you next time.